Hello and welcome, one and all. How's the voice? It's been a while since I've messed with this, and I kind of turned down some stuff. Am I too loud, too soft? What do you think, chat? What's the technical issue? It should be none. It's a little low. We good now? Just right. Just right today. I can go a little lower there. I can go a little lower there, Cdizzle, if you want. I can go all the way down. Chicka chicky. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Let's get to the office, shall we? Hello and welcome to the office hours. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host at the Astro Pub, your facilitator at Captain's Table, and your professor on Galactic Historian. For those of you who've never seen an Office Hours before, Office Hours is kind of a live-streamed chat, AMA slash discussion. I like to explore some topics in lore and some discussion topics that would either end up in the Captain's Table or Galactic Historian, or just in general. We'll just kind of hang out and talk for a couple hours. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, but I will talk a little bit about things throughout the day as well. How are y'all doing today? I see we have Jake Acapella in here, who, by the way, completely unrelated to Jake being in the Twitch chat, YouTube chat is complimenting you, Jake, on the progress tracker. For those of you who don't know, Jake Acapella, Jake Bradley, is a community manager for CIG. He has been a friend of the pub, been a personal friend of mine for years, before he worked for CIG. And he is the one who has shepherded the progress tracker into the world like a newborn child into the universe. So if you like the progress tracker, hashtag blame Jake. Good. So here's the question: what's your favorite system and why is it Goss? Goss is amazing. Let's just for funsies, let's look up Goss, just so I can talk a little bit about that. Oh, also, interesting side note. For weird tangential current events slash Star Citizen news, this is weird bringing up, but Disco Lando bought a brand new car with meme money. Because he invested like $40 into Dogecoin back in like 2013 and ended up with over $8,000 in Dogecoin, which he sold and then bought a car. That's an interesting connection. Bought a Dodge with a Doge, yes. Let me see if there's some good pictures here. There's really not a lot of good pictures here for some reason. I guess it's Olympus Pool. So when was it discovered? We don't know. What? Okay, so all the pictures you see from the 890 Jump brochure of the tropical place, that's Goss. Goss is basically a giant, it's a giant, like, tropical resort. However, it's also a pirate haven. It's like Tortuga meets Bermuda. Or a down payment on a $20,000, $30,000 car. Tortuga Deluxe, yeah. It's also where the UEE regularly uses it as a port of call for shore leave. The nightclubs are hotspots. The landing zone is known as Castle, or Cassel, Cassel. Nassau Port, yeah. Here, I finally found a picture of it. You've probably seen this before. That's Castle. That's Goss 2, aka Olympus Pool. Mint, am I right? It is absolutely a luxury location. In my opinion, what's the Star Citizen's closest equivalent to Brazil? Whenever I cannot say Brazil, I have to say who. If we don't have too many drop frames. We had some drop frames earlier, I guess. All right. Oh no, the castle is the name of the planet. Okay, my bad. Olympus Pool is a different place. Getting my stuff mixed up. Landing zone is named Cassilian, and there's also a landing zone called Lyre. All right, where are the jump points? Osiris, Tyak, Terra, Tyrol, and Helios. So yeah, it's Tyak and Osiris and Terra. So it's not too far away. Badger Boy, thank you so much for gifting that sub to Ashton2002. Ooh, looks like Rio. Yeah, it looks very similar to New Babbage meets Orison. And that's one of the things that a lot of people may not realize is that, and by the way, Goss is probably the closest to Brazil. Brazil. Because in terms of its party atmosphere, its lush tropical kind of locale, and yeah, probably it's probably closest. Kind of like the Aaron Halo, but Goss close to Turtleverse, to the Turtleverse. But the castle's the actual planet, right? Yeah, not just a city. There's 2 landing zones on it. I got it all mixed up. What was the question? Oh yeah, like a lot of people don't realize is that the reason why Stanton was chosen by CIG as the first system to put it in game and not something more iconic like Terra or Sol is because it's the only system outside of Terra or Sol that has so many landing zones, so many moons, and so many planets. Like if you look at it in comparison, Pyro, I think, has more planetary bodies and probably not as many moons, but it's larger, and most of those planets are entirely lifeless and or don't have any landing zones. It only has 1 landing zone, which is right by the jump point, which is Ruin Station. And if you look at Nyx, the other one that's going to be coming in, you just have Levski, which is on an asteroid in an asteroid belt. You have a bunch of other planets, but they're all lifeless as well. What do the ultra rich look like in Star Citizen? Like, do they own planets, have private armies? not really private armies, but I wouldn't say they own planets either, because I think they might, and non-claimed UEE systems, maybe. They definitely own like moons or asteroids. We'll see. I'd like to see flowing lava and pyro too, but we'll see. Listen, the Hurston family can eat a bag of dicks. I can say that right now, can't I? Yeah, I can. Good. The Hurston family sucks. It sucks hard. I hope they redo Delamar to look like the first demo they did way back. They probably will, but I think it'll depend, because I don't think CIG has actually released their Inside Star Citizen. Do we know why? A2 plus Hurston Tower. It's gonna happen. They can, in fact, eat the bag of dicks. Technical issues? Okay. I didn't see all of chat earlier. I'm a terrible streamer. I don't read all of chat. Fighting the Hurstons is one of the few things tempting me towards the unlawful side of things in Stanton. Well, here's the thing. And I'm doing a video on this right now, but reputation is going to start to be very different in the experiences of most players than people realize. Your current experience with Star Citizen is money. Go take a job that offers a lot of money. You make the most money, you come back. You know, like you work for the Bounty Hunters Guild, you get money. However, in the near future, as the reputation system is being built, probably not too far away, 1 and maximum 2 years away, you're going to start seeing repercussions for the jobs you take with different factions. Not just in terms of like losing reputation with various factions. Not just losing reputation with various factions, but them actively getting angry at you. So if you're working for the Bounty Hunters Guild and you're working in Crusader, pucker your asshole because Ninetales are going to be coming after you. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you get enough bad reputation, you will have players hunting you. Like, there is a mission giver who gives out kill missions paid for by the Ninetales. His name is Rudo. You're gonna get attacked. So even if you're a good guy and you're doing the good things and you're not being a bad PvPer, congratulations. Bad PvPers now want swiggity swooty, they coming for that booty. You know? So I'm doing a video. I've been doing a video on this to kind of talk about how not only your reputation will start mattering, but it'll start impacting the lore and actually bring the lore into game. Because really, the machinations of these various factions is what the story of Star Citizen is. And you playing into these machinations will affect your story, but it'll also affect the universe. So when you have events like the Ninetales Lockdown, depending on who you side with, is going to either boost your reputation through the roof or send active kill orders after you. It's moving towards more IRL real version of rep versus a guild hall style of rep from fantasy. But it's also moving towards the Chris Roberts style of rep. This is a classic Chris Roberts attempt, kind of style of doing reputation. He did this in Freelancer. He did this in Privateer. This is something that he wants to continue and evolve from his earlier works. Question: what tech do you think is holding up exploration gameplay? What is exploration gameplay? Define exploration gameplay for me, brother, and I'll Brother Nature, and I'll explain. Hey, Jemkier. I think it's supposed to be with the new Montreal team. Yeah, that's why I was interested, because someone was mentioning fixing up. What's it called? Levski. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be with the Montreal team. Oh, wait, isn't the ISC supposed to be with the new Montreal team? Yeah, I don't have a crime set. Why is everyone trying to kill me? Oh, because they hate me. Yeah. I love me some Shelly. Thank you so much, Pickle Skin, for that 8-9 months, buddy. Well, the problem I have with the term exploration is I think it's a big, broad term. I've mentioned this on a Captain's Table when it was brought up, and freaking Naz will constantly bring it up when he comes on. He's like, what is exploration? We had a huge conversation about it, which is the problem about exploration is it depends on what you're looking at. Do you mean exploration in terms of finding new jump points or finding new points of interest? That is more pathfinding or cartography? Or do you mean like go out and collect samples of this plant, bring it back for analysis? Go survey this region for specific animals and bring that back for analysis? Because that's more like crafting or science gameplay. Because that's the problem, is that science is, what is science? Science is the whole damn game. You know, it's a science for me putting a gun to the back of your head and watching your brain matter explode out the other side. That's a science. It's not like... So it really depends. No, dude, I'm not going to lay off the coke, ever. That's not going to hold up in the clerk, though. So I'm sorry, Your Honor. It was a science. I was just performing an experiment. Hey, you, Navy, how you doing, buddy? Calculation bullet drop. Science, bitch. Science. I was only conducting an experiment, Your Honor. 25 people are dead. Science is sometimes requires sacrifice. I assume science is chemistry, researching semantics. Yeah, schematics. Well, that's the question. It's like that's why I was asking Brother Nature, if he's still here. Like, what do you mean by science? Like, what do you mean by science gameplay? Because or exploration gameplay? Because that's what I need to, you know. If you mean like being able to find new locations, that's sort of on there. Probes are on the road on the progress tracker, so they're definitely being adding for probes. I assume that there's probably some other things that like back-end tech that need to be added, but question, will we ever get the heartthrob that is Jared Huckabee as a romanceable character? That is a good question, Fullpine. We do want Chef Lando and his famous pizza pie. Well, what about QT pies? Squadron 42 quarter 2 2022 release. I mean, it's obvious it's not coming out this year. We would probably know by June if it was coming out this year. There doesn't seem to be any indications that is, though it does seem like it's coming to a close because of them doing all of these gold standard release, which just basically means it's ready for release. For those of you guys who don't know, going gold is an old term from I think just game development, might be from software development as well. But going gold just means that you take the product you already finished and send it off to print, either floppies or CDs or DVDs or Blu-rays. You send it off to the printers. Now, modern games, you don't always have to print off the game. So going gold is just an antiquated term, but it basically means that something is done and it's just waiting for polish or waiting for, it's good for release. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's completely done. It means they can still go through and they can polish it, or bug fix it, but they're not going to add anything new to that. So the master CDs were gold colored. That's where the name comes from. But do you know if it was just gaming or if it was software development as well? Probes back in. Well, when you came into the right kind of conversation. Okay, buddy. Question, when's the trading going to be fixed? What trading do you mean? Exploration is finding something new. Science is finding out how it works and how to map it. Yeah. Sap, are you serious? I haven't played the game since 2 weeks ago in PTU, and it was absolute hot garbage. No, you're okay, good. I was going to say. Thank you so much for that $5 there, Swamp Rat. Swamp Rabbit. Thanks, Ben. So I went to Delamar to buy stuff, and I usually buy stuff, Philip. I'm sorry, but not today. I think, so here's the problem with the trade terminals. The trade terminals are being updated to new tech, but a lot of the trade terminals and trade in general is connected to tech, which isn't done yet. So there's CIGs does this often where they're like, they don't know exactly when this is going to be replaced, but they anticipate that it's going to be replaced soon. So when they wait for that stuff to be replaced, they have to, they either go back and replace it, or go back and fix it, or they wait for it to be replaced. And right now, CIG seems to be waiting to be replaced. Speak, Paul. They're seeming to wait for the tech to be replaced. And as a result, they're not going back and doing any major fixes, just hot fixes. So if you're having issues with the trade terminals, it's either A, back-end reasons, because the back-end isn't working properly, or B, it's possibly the server, and C, it could be anything else in between. So to find new resources, populated worlds, it's exploration, or they always tell us to leave an Easter egg for us. That's exploration. So exploration requires a couple things. First off, it requires server mission. It requires persistence, because it doesn't make any sense to find something if it doesn't persist. So it requires iCache, the persistent streaming. What is it called? There's a term for it. It's like persistent streaming services or something like that. Jake, help me. You wrote it. Persistent streaming and server meshing. Thank you. Persistent streaming. So that needs to be done, and server meshing needs to be done before you can have any of those kind of reasonable exploration gameplay. Then they need to have the ability for you to travel away from one point and go to another without a specific point in mind. So you need to be able to set a location to a nebula that's not on a trade route to explore it, because there's no point in trying to explore something if you can't get to it. So you need to have some ability to get there. So probes and scanning need to be done. Luckily, scanning is getting an overhaul in 3.14, and probes are on the progress tracker. So they're starting to work on some of this tech that is required. Plus, persistent streaming and server meshing are already being worked on between now and the end of the year, if not longer. So. The backend never works properly, or at least that's what my girlfriend keeps telling me. Hey, Striker. Think of Skyrim Dawnstealer? The Astropub? That's what, I don't, that's weird. Yeah, CIG did a cost benefit on it, and the kiosks were waiting for building blocks, and underlying trade is being worked on in Quanta, which is on server tech, I believe. Yeah. So, yeah, we're dealing with just a wait in time for some of that stuff. Yeah, there was supposed to be an ISC today, but apparently Jake's in chat, and since Jake's the person who's responsible for uploading it, there was a technical issue that they have to rework. And as somebody who deals with YouTube videos on a regular basis, this could be anything from an encoding error to an audio glitch to something that's left in, like a black space that was left in that shouldn't have been, to a lack of visuals where there's supposed to be visuals. There's lots of different issues, and you have to re-render and encode it, especially if you're encoding at higher bit rates. That takes time, and then you have to upload it, which then takes additional time. Then you need to watch it to make sure that it's not that YouTube didn't absolutely screw the quality and fuck anything up. It's complicated. So if you miss your release date initially, especially with a company like CIG, I expect it could take up to 4 hours for it to get replaced. So audio desync, oh god, all the time. I mean, I think ISC is 1080 at the very least. PT update, it's a long haul this year. January 2022 looked promising. Brother Nature, thank you for the $4.99. Thanks for answering my question. I just want the Corsair to be out and usable. You and me too. You and me both, brother. You and me both. I love me some Corsair. Though I am exploring the inside of people's cargo holds with my Corsair, not the universe. Well, I guess inside everyone's cargo hold is its own distinct universe. I'm just trying to science the hell out of the inside of your cargo bays. Why were you found on board this constellation with 15 dead bodies? I was conducting experiments which involved taking their cargo and their lives. I arrived late. Did you cover the new sales in RSI yet? I haven't, but we can talk about them. Question, are we going to get the Yeti this year? If so, I want a pet for an 890. We're going to talk about the Yeti here in a bit. The Boreal Stalker, which is in the title, if you guys saw that. My general view is until server tech gets up there, we're looking at mostly cosmetic and cleanups. They had to yank Delamar and drop server count to run Xeno. The servers are maxed. Yeah, they brought the server count back up, but they haven't brought back Delamar. However, this is going to sound weird. But, in theory, all of Crusader and Orison could be less server intensive than all of Delamar. Because Delamar was the earliest landing zone we had outside of the moons. And it was one of the few places that has gotten some updates, but not a ton. And a lot of that landing zone is still the remaining old tech landing zone from 3.0. Pico, hey Pico. Oh yeah, Pico. Or Pico. Pets, that's in the game, but Cool, I got an Aquila. Yeah. Oh yeah, Delamar was like the original freelancer where every screw was modeled. I don't know if it was that detailed, but it was probably more detailed than current landing zones are. Hey, Lucius, doing good. My 400i savings just went on a miner's mega pack, so I love the 400i, even if you don't like it. It looks like a god awful piece of shit that is entirely not worth any money. It looks terrible. I like Origin ships, and I just the concept that I've seen of the 400i, which is not official, it's a leak, and we don't know if it's real or not. But if that's the release, and I still don't think it is, I still don't think we have 400, but we'll see. My only response to that is, God no, please God no. Jake is saying there, Don Sealers is an official CIG statement, I'm guessing. It wasn't removed for the servers now. It was being moved to Nyx as it's in production, also to make room for Orison. Thank you, Normandy, for gifting that sub to Jake. Want to note that an awesome Twitter account you have. Huge fan, how honest you are. I tend to keep my opinions on Twitter rather than bringing them on here. But... you know, ironically, this is a weird thing. The reason why I am a lot different on Twitter, and I tend to focus on different stuff on Twitter that I do in my content here on YouTube and Twitch, is because of all people, Dan Giesling, who I know, for those of you who don't know who Dan Giesling is, he was an old Star Citizen streamer, and before that, he was part of the Next Great Starship production, and before that he was a contestant on Big Brother, a reality television show. So he's actually kind of like a minor celebrity from, you know, what's it called? I hope you brought your papers, Paul. I love it. Anyways, so I used to have 2 different accounts for Twitter, and I talked with Dan about that, and he was like, Paul, don't do that. I tend to treat my Twitter as my personal Twitter. It's my personal account, and I do my professional stuff and the personal stuff because I am who I am. My professional life and my personal life are one and the same. So if people are following me for my professional stuff, they should know who I am in real life. So, I mean, I don't shy away from it when people bring up the discussions. I try to not get too in depth in it, but yeah, I definitely, I kind of took that to heart just because I'll be more honest with that. You just got Gieslinged. Yeah, see, that's the real question. Can we get a 420 Willie Nelson variant? Jake, can you pass that along to John? That when the 400i comes out, can we get a 420 Nelson variant, which is a party variant? You're kind of a big deal. You are, Don Steeler. You are to me. Finally made alive. Hey, Jason Weber. Pets are already in game. You just need to hold them. Can we arm homesteads with AA in order to force land battles? We don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if we could. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to build AA platforms. You don't have to keep giving money to Swamp. Thank you. You don't have to. You can just ask that. It just highlights it, so it's easier for me to see. We don't know yet. There's not a lot of information about building homesteads with players, but we know that that AAs are already for land stuff, and I'm sure that they're going to be modular in some way. And we also know that they're looking to make shields not just for ships, but for other objects other than ships, which to me means stations and homesteads. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have shields for homesteads, a la Empire Strikes Back, you know, with the Rebel base, and or defense platforms, or defense towers that are automated that will shoot at things that come too close. I fail to see the value of ships like the 890 for social aspects of the game. I'm sure like org leaders will have those, but regular Joe, what's your take on such ships? So what a lot of people forget is that Star Citizen is going to have a passenger transportation missions. So if you are transporting VIPs or VIP tourists, a freelancer is not going to do it. So there may have higher standards for some of these NPCs for these missions where you have to have a luxury ship. So the 890 is mostly for e-dick waggling, just like, look at my big balls. Here's my money into space. I'm going to do cocaine off of space hookers. You know, it's the ultimate baller lifestyle, but it technically has some gameplay because it can be used for transportation and there will be VIP transports. So. With players or out of players? What do you mean, Mega? Isn't the 600 die touring already a party boat version? Yeah, it is. But sometimes you're transporting an entire convention, not a couple of dudes. I get that, but organizations will have those. Most likely those VIPs will have an option without paying. What do you mean? We're talking about gameplay. Those VIPs, the NPC VIPs, will sometimes be looking for very specific types of rides. So the 890 is one of those, but you could also transport them in like a 600. But if you have large groups that they need a certain accommodations, you need to have something better. I'm just waiting for the elusive Origin 404 30k skin. Any chances we're going to get personal shields to force sword combat? No. That's not planned, but there are going to be some sort of deployable shields. The actor tech team and the people who make all the ground stuff, the armors, the weapons, these are various different teams. The thing I know about them is that they're all Warhammer 40k nerds. So I would not put it past them to have some sort of chainsword in there. I'm just saying. But also they want to do crazy things with the armor and stuff. They want to make armors as variable as ships. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a personal armor set that was just a mining laser that you could use as a big mining. It's basically as a rock, but like a one with like a backpack and like a big old gun that you carry around and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if those things existed at all in Star Citizen at some point because they want to go nuts. Listen, I want sword so badly. Please. Yeah. Chainswords does sound like Kastak. Bitches love bolters. You know what we need? We need a 40mm grenade launcher that's a rapid fire. There is a stun baton. The stun baton is one of the things that's going to be added there. I also like the roleplay potential. Yeah, there's definitely some other aspects to that as well. But you want a powder fist, yes. But that's a long way of saying I don't think you will have personal shields, but there'll be probably deployable shields, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had deployable bubble shields, a la like Halo, where you can like throw something on the ground and it creates like a personal bubble shield, like Halo or Star Wars, something like that, as a temporary protection from outside income. But you wouldn't probably have anything that would be on you like Doom Guy shields or Halo shields, like in terms of like personal armor shields. Twitch's 2022 announcement: CIG and Twitch partner virtual TwitchCon take place inside Immersion. Man, I wouldn't be surprised. How's it going, War? We need the big shooter. Yeah. What about the Square Energy shields from the old demo? I think those are going to happen. Yeah, the ones where you can deploy and then they can like pop up and you can take cover behind them. Those will probably happen. But those aren't like personal shields that you like can like take incoming fire. Because the question from Brother Nature was basically like, have personal shields so that you can get up close with somebody and then just stab them in the face with a knife. Yeah, that might be a cool question. Will the Well, the mechs, the Titan armor suits, well, they have shields. They might have tier 0 shields, similar to the Cyclone and the Dragonflies and such. It could happen. With the current TTK for FPS, personal shields would be OP, I think. The TTK is going to go down for FPS because they have to add, when they start adding in more complex medical systems, it'll start adding some more variance to it. So, hey, Neoxin. A medieval themed moon with no guns, yeah. I hope they start implementing non-lethal takedowns and mid pets. Paul, will we be able to sell our ships and games that we bought with real cash? No idea, Agent. There's no discussion on that one. Personally, I'm leaning towards no. But we'll see. It depends on how the economy's balanced. I need a shave. It depends, Penguin Lord. I think personal shields would definitely be overpowered, but if a personal shield would allow you to take a round or two without being killed, but still experiencing the knockdown. So if you're running at somebody with a personal shield, if you get shot with a shotgun, you won't die, but you'll get knocked back. That might be a kind of a good trade-off. But again, CAG doesn't seem to want to do personal shields. The problem, Badger Boy, of saying that 100% you'll be able to trade ships is they said trade ships, not sell ships. You can give people your ship and give them the access to the ship, and you can take money from players. But the question is, less could you sell it to other players, and more could you sell it to the NPCs and get money? Because I know a lot of people's idea is they could buy big ships which are worth relatively low amounts of money compared to in-game cash, and then they could sell those ships in-game, and then just take that money and then invest into something that would be rare or something to good equipment or whatever for the other ships. I was going to add that the personal shields also attract sandworms, but I'm also wondering if they could have some sort of sword class plans. I wouldn't be surprised if they added swords, because the Vanduul as a species are a melee-based species. They tend to value melee combat over anything else. Their spears also shoot stuff, but they seem to want to get up close and personal and stab you. Blades are a big honor thing in their culture. So because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like axes or mauls. Axes, because boarding axes have always been a thing in naval reality, and you can never, an axe is good for lots of different purposes, as well as survival purposes. So having some sort of axe available for players to use as survival, but also to just chop someone's face off, would make sense. Swords, maybe in the sense that you'd have some ceremonial stuff, but they already have knives. Like, they have knives in game, so like there's I know it's a big difference between stabbing someone with a knife and hacking someone's head off with a sword, but they all have some of those mechanics already in the game, so it wouldn't be a stretch. Crowbar, they need a crowbar for sure. I honestly highly doubt you'll ever be able to sell the whole ships, especially bought with real money, unless they're stolen. Yeah. I wonder if we'll get tower shields, like physical ones. Riot shields, maybe. I could see that being a weapon in game, a riot shield. I have like 1K put away specifically for when the game is about to come out and the gray marketeers realize, oh shit, I need to get rid of my stock now. Yeah. Well, now I'm just picturing the guy from Space Captain Harlock who had power armor and a huge axe. Listen, Space Captain Harlock is a treasure and everyone needs to watch it. Night shields, yeah. Tavarin have always been seen with swords, spears. They've been seen with spears, but yes. Same for melee combat. Yeah, I think that's the problem with melee in video games is that there are two types of melee. Overcomplicated as fuck, a la Kingdom Come. What else do you have? Mountain Blade, Chivalry, you know, to a degree. And then you have hack and slash, which is like Doom and Halo. There's really not much in between those two, like, extremes. So CIG would have to pick a choice, and I think they'd probably want to go more towards Mountain Blade and Kingdom Come, and that's a whole different can of worms in terms of animations, programming, lots of stuff like that. So, and I don't know if it'd be worth it right now. So. Yeah, carryable heavy ballistic shields in ship interior combat makes so much sense. It does. It makes a lot of sense to be able to have a ballistic shield that can take a couple of rounds, but especially since CIG has programmed in knockback, that makes sense. Someone with a shotgun could shoot somebody with a ballistic shield, and it may not kill them, but it'll knock them over. So it's a way of protecting you, but also to give you some cover and your pals behind you some cover, and you're clearing out ships. The question becomes heft and transportability. In some ships, it may not make sense. Like a freelancer, it may be too difficult to actually enter a ship, enter a freelancer, get through the corridors with those shields open. Well, here's the thing, Sandgroper. Grenade launcher trumps your melee weapon. Here's the thing. In the tight confines of a spaceship, throwing a grenade is a bad thing, especially when pressure becomes an issue, or even just you could be in the blast radius as well. If I can get the distance, if I can cover the distance between you and me with a melee weapon, if you miss with a shot, with a grenade launcher or any kind of gun, I can be in your face and end you with a melee weapon, and I don't have to reload. And melee weapons don't have ammo, you don't have to reload them, and they're quiet. They don't make a ton of noise. So in small spaces, melee weapons make sense. Now, they're not as powerful, and there's other issues, kind of drawbacks for them, but you'd be surprised. There's a reason why, modern police officers are often trained, like, when you see a knife, you just shoot somebody. Because if they get within a certain distance from you, you cannot react fast enough before they can stab you, if they're trained enough. And even in games, I've seen melee kills which are insane, because if you're panicking and someone's coming up at you quickly, you may not be able to register a shot properly. So. Melee in games that have focus on shooting is usually OP due to the fact that it's harder to kill in melee. However, in Star Citizen, you couldn't just hide in a bathroom and one-shot everyone. You could just, yeah, in theory, yeah. Are emotes still removed from Star Citizen or from my channel? They shouldn't be, but you have to go in and program them. They don't have the buttons anymore. You have to go in and put them in. If the attacker is 21 feet away, they can reach you with a knife before you can draw. Yeah, no, I know. Like, there's some pretty explicit research on melee weapons versus pistols, because police train in these things and the military trains in these things as well, and they've done a lot of testing for those sorts of things. No. It's fair to point out that Star Citizen won't be anything like the magic death swipe you see in Call of Duty. No. But, if I hit you with an axe, it's going to hurt. And with Star Citizen's medical gameplay, the things that they're planning, even in basic form, you're probably not going to be able to level a gun if I hit you in the arm. And then I don't even have to pull the axe out. I can just punch you in the face and I win. Like, that's the thing, is like, melee weapons would actually make sense in the universe of Star Citizen. The question becomes, is it feasible for them to program it in, and do they want to? Because it could also mess up the flow of combat. So, did it for science in 312. Took 19 swings with my combat knife to kill a heavily armored NPC. Well, they're heavily armored. Yeah, stealth mechanics are the hardest thing for any video game to kind of pull off. I don't think you're going to get an Anvil Death Star. All right, I'm going to do a quick bio break. I'll be back. When I come back, we'll talk a little bit about the Boreal Stalker and then discuss a little bit more about 312 and all the, or 313 and the rest of the stuff. So be right back, y'all. Don't go anywhere. Thief was way ahead of its time, yeah. Boreal Stalker, yeah. We'll take a look at that and stuff. We'll talk a little bit about it. Are you excited about the Microtech Yeti? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But before we do, as is tradition, whenever I finish a mini for whatever I do, whatever I'm painting, I tend to show it off. So this is, I've been working on my 40k orc army because I've got a bunch of things I got to paint. And I'm trying to get a lot of that done before I get to the Star Citizen freelancer that I have from JRDF that I'm going to paint live on stream so you guys can see it. But let's see if I can't get this boy to... Oh, he's green, so he's going to be green screened out. It's hard to see it because of the green. But yeah. So that's one of the orc boys. Come see the back. I'm pretty proud of these. I'm getting better at this sort of thing because I'm learning that I don't have to go crazy, and I'm not going to be doing some crazy paint stuff because for me it's more important to kind of have fun painting these things and enjoy doing that and get them to a point where, like, when everything opens back up again, I can play 40k with them, but not go over the top crazy. Like, I'm not a professional painter. So, but you know, take some pride in it. So, oh, and I'll also show this before we talk about the Big Yeti. I also have this. Official CIG model. That's going to get worked on here probably over the summer. Oh yeah, no, I've actually went through a lot of the stuff and stuff, so. Same, as you speak, I'm painting Star Wars Legion. Good. For Gork and Mork. Yes. Yes, I'm doing a Evil Sons orcs, so they go faster. The whole theme I have is Dukes of Hazzard themed, so they're called the Duke Boys. Boys. And they're all motorized, so. So I use green stuff when you use your orc conversion. How do you like working with green stuff? It's just, green stuff is just, I'll show that off real quickly before we go. Green stuff is just modeling clay that has some sort of self-hardening chemicals in it. It's fine. It's not great. It's kind of difficult to use unless you are very careful with it, but it's not bad. That one's easy. Chaos Black Primer and Bolt Gun Dry Brush. Yeah. Oh, for the freelancer, I'm gonna go a little crazy with it. So I've made a custom. It's not painted yet, but I've been kit bashing it. And you'll see that there's some green stuff onto it. It's kind of been. It's gonna be green screened out, but. So I kit bashed a War Boss on bike with some other parts and a bike that I had. So yeah, that's the Apex Predator. We'll talk about that here in a bit. So let's talk about the Boreal Stalker. I didn't mean to go that long on that one. It's just one of those things I've been doing when I've been in my own time. Meet the Boreal Stalker. Now, as far as I can tell, the Boreal Stalker is native to Microtech. It is a genetically engineered creature that was made by forgot the name of it. I'm going through. Jail actually reminded me a lot of this one. It's like, oh yeah, this happened. And Meyer did too. Jail and Meyer were like, yeah, it's this. I'm not finding it. Anyways, it's made by Rayari. Yes. Rayari MT. So it was designed as an experiment that escaped. And it escaped and is now breeding in the wilds of Microtech. It is a hyper-aggressive creature designed to survive in the snowy wastes of Microtech. We don't know exactly what its original purpose was, why it was being created, or what its final goal was. However, we do know that they still exist in Microtech, and they're likely something that you're going to have to hunt as a player to cull the herd or deal with or capture possibly for study. So these are creatures that are very dangerous, very wild, and are unique to Microtech. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't end up at other places, but that is where you'll find most of them for right now. So unlike the Kazi Grazer, which is the space cow, which is actually native of Terra, or the Ranta, which is native of we have no idea, which is the pill bug looking thing that lives in the caves of the Stanton system, or the blind Oni crab, which is the floating gas bags of explosions, which come from Lear, the sand worms, which come from Lear, or the pyro crab, which comes from Pyro. This is the only true genetically engineered species that we see in Star Citizen at this time. So we do know that there are some other creatures that are unique to Xian ancestry, like the Santok Yai, which is the name of a ship, but it's also the name of a flying bird of prey. It'd be kind of like, I don't know, calling a starship the Hawk. Oh, right. We also have the Crotch Spider. Which is some point. And there's also there's a dog. There's lots of creatures they've kind of made, but this is the only genetically engineered species that we know of. And it's called the Boreal Stalker because it lives amongst the trees of Microtech in the cold, snowy wastes. So. What's the Crotch Spider? Oh, my sweet summer child. So. Oh, yeah, I forgot the flat cats. We don't know a lot about flat cats, though. Other than they exist and were once a fad. And they were basically creatures that lived on a high-gravity planet, so they were like a smushed cat. What did I say? Did I say Navis? I meant to say Naz. No. So the reason why it's called the Crotch Spider, because there's also the Crotch Dog. The Crotch Spider is, there was a section way back in the day in Star Citizen, what is now called Star Citizen Live, which was at that time called Reverse the Verse. There was sections like they do now of where they kind of pair up with somebody who's making things in the game and they make something from scratch as kind of like to showing the process of what they do, and they take questions. So a couple of them were making creatures, and one of the creatures they made was a spider. Now the problem is that when in the program they were using, they had a human figure which was there for the standard human figure height for Star Citizen. So, and when they were creating these creatures, they're creating them in micro scale and then blowing them up to the scale that they needed to be. The problem is that where the 0-0 like area, like the origin point for when you're making things was located in the direct center of the crotch of the human figure that they had already spawned. So when they're blowing up these creatures to larger sizes, it looked like they were growing up out of the crotch of this human figure. So they call them the Crotch Spiders. And when this was done live on Twitch, basically the hosts, which were, I think was Lando and Xylo, were just losing their ever-loving mind. They were laughing so hard as it happened. And then it happened again when they did a dog with the same thing. So, yeah. It was nuts. Look it up. Look up Crotch Spider, Star Citizen Crotch Spider. There's some clips out there on YouTube. Let's see if I can actually find it. I'll show it off real quick. Okay, this is with a bunch of people, including several members of the team at that time. I'm going to pause this music real quick so we can listen to this.
So if we bring him in here, let's see how big he is right now. He's real big.
Oh, God.
That's unfortunate. That's a real unfortunate positioning of the import.
Of course.
You're watching the last broadcast of Disco Lando. I've enjoyed working for you for these last 2 years.
Yeah.
Copy of that. I hope you'll speak fondly of me when I'm gone.
Oh, man.
There you go. They were working with ZBrush and made it spider and brought it to human for scale. Of course, ZBrush brings the human at 0.000 point. Yeah. I heard CIG did some multi-threading this patch. How much about it? I haven't heard much about that. No. The only crabs I'm really looking for, I'm looking forward to, because they're giant bags of hydrogen gas. And for those of you who don't know, when you shoot hydrogen gas, boom. If Star Citizen never happens, this will still be in my memory. We still have the memories, yeah. Why is the crotch at 0.000 is the real question. Yeah. I want the CIG merch store to start selling relatively large paperweight, the Anvil branded anvil, an actual mini metal anvil with the Anvil Aerospace logo engraved from the sides. That'd be kind of cool. Absolute wonderful. Yes. How much species on one planet in life can we expect? Something like the sandworm will really be released. So we don't know if the sandworm will really be released. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But it really depends on what CIG wants to do. They can have as little or as many species. I'm not thinking you're going to have a diverse biome of very intricate species in Star Citizen. A, it's server taxing. B, it doesn't make a lot of sense unless they actually have gameplay purposes. And so likely what I gather is you'd probably have a couple of herbivore species or species that are not predators, essentially, and maybe one or two predators per planet. And a lot of those will be copy pasted throughout the universe, because how terraforming works in Star Citizen is you have to take a planet that exists that's not human habitable and turn it into a human habitable world. So very few original species will have survived the terraforming process. So you have to reintroduce species or introduce species which have capabilities of living on the planet. So you're going to have a stable of creatures that you use to drop on planets as a means to build an ecosphere. So. Why is the Hercules so bad? Why is Execute your favorite Australian? The Hercules is not bad. I will continue to say Execute and I had this long conversation before the last info runners that we did together, where he was trying to explain to me in detail why the Hercules is bad and that the Caterpillar is better. And I kept trying to say, yes, but it can't do everything. And the things it can't do, the Star Runner or the Star Lifter can. The Hercules can. And it kept going back and forth and being like, I agree with you. There are some things that the Caterpillar is better at, and there's some things that the Hercules is good at. Doesn't mean it's bad. How you doing, X? Honestly, in modeling and animation, BIP01 is the guiding bone for all other bones that animate. It's the hips bone. I think that's because I'm guessing that is also the center of mass, because generally speaking, most games, I'd assume that most models are between, like, the upper torso and the legs are proportionate to each other so that it looks okay and it's easier to model. So as a result, the center point between those 2 points would be the hips. So even though that's not realistic in the sense of how humans are actually built, some humans have really long legs, some big torsos and shorter legs. But when you're building standard models, it makes sense to do half and half. Actual questions. What are the cat and Herc good at? The Caterpillar is going to be a lot more flexible than the Hercules because it will have a lot of different modules which will be available for it. Things like salvage modules, repair modules, living modules, recreation modules. The amount of modules it has is just limited to whatever CIG wants to make for it. Plus, it also has the detachable pod. So the actual command section of the Caterpillar is its own ship with its own quantum drive and jump drive. So it can detach from a Caterpillar and go off and do its own thing and return back and attach back onto the Caterpillar. So it has got its own snubcraft, which has a jump drive and its own quantum drive. So that's got that going for it. And it has a bunch of versatility. It can also hold a ton of cargo if you need it to. But the problem is it doesn't hold large vehicles. And that's what the Hercules was built for, was to haul large vehicles into combat zones. So the civilian version can haul large vehicles wherever it wants. But on the sides, on the other side of that is it can also haul cargo. So they both have internal cargo. The Caterpillar has some more flexibility, but it lacks the ability to carry large vehicles or into locations, which is what the Hercules does. So, yeah, the little cabin seriously has all that. It's not so little either. It's the size of when you see it and you compare it, it's like two Auroras stacked on top of each other. I think it's almost like half a freelancer length, if not almost the size of a freelancer. That little like command section. Livestock modules for the Caterpillar. Yep. The Cat is actually going to be a great gameplay when it's finally finished. Yeah, it requires a lot of different things, like it requires the module system, which is coming in 3.14, to be in there. So I don't think it's going to be in 3.14 in the sense that we won't see Caterpillar modules in 3.14, but once they have the module system in, then they can start working on them. Cutlass Red a good buy for exploration, and if they can add a med bay to the Connie Aquila, we don't know. I have a red because it's good for search and rescue. I wouldn't say it's good for exploration though, unless it's short-term exploration. Cannot wait. That little cabin's bigger. Buy a Cutlass Red in game. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth the cash. It's definitely worth purchasing it in game, but save your in-game cash too if you're looking for an exploration ship. The best ship that is for an explorer that has its own medical bay is the Carrack. You're a Banu and I'm a human. I find your daughter attractive. What's the proper etiquette if I want to take her for a hot dog and a beer? Oh, so you're saying you're a human, I'm a Banu, and you're asking me how would you ask out somebody a Banu to a date? Everything is a negotiation. In Banu society, everything is a contract and everything's a negotiation. You can go hang out with people, but unless you're part of the same Suli, it doesn't really matter. But if you're part of the same Suli, you could maybe form a Suli, like a dating Suli, for a short period of time. So you'd have to negotiate a contract before you went out on for a hot dog and a beer and wherever you're going to clearly illustrate what you're planning on doing and what the transaction, what they get out of it, other than, maybe just a hot dog and a beer. But they also eat really rancid food, so not all Banu food is edible by humans. Make sure you're rooting for Dad's Saddleball team. No, they take the sport seriously, but they just care about the Banu have the most wholesome attitude towards sports. They don't care who wins as long as it's an exciting game. They like to celebrate skill wherever they see it. So they actually have special Banu seats, not because, humans be racist, but humans be racist, because they will cheer for both teams. They will just straight up cheer for both teams. Yeah, that's true too. They don't have gender. We don't even know if they have sex. Sex, but like biological sex. They don't have any genders. They are agendered. So there is no daughters or sons in the Banu. It is just Banu. That's the problem, is that you wouldn't, if you said, I like your daughter, the question is, whose daughter? This is, my child's name is this. There's no daughter here. They'd just be confused because they don't even have gendered nouns and pronouns in their language. Like, gender does not exist in their language. A dentist to the Banu would probably end up being like a doctor attaché to a Suli. They'd be part of a Suli for a specific role, or they would have their own Suli, so that you'd have a dentist Suli. Kind of like a dentist office with multiple dentists and dentist apprentices. A dental Suli, yeah. Everything in Banu society is its own Suli. Families are Suli. Because they don't even have a concept of family. You form a breeding Suli to have children. And then those children, those offspring, are then sold to rearing Suli, where they raise children. And then those rearing Suli will sell those children when they are of age to a Suli that needs a specific type of laborer. Because in that rearing Suli, they would have training for the young to figure out what they're good at, and they will sell those children to a specific Suli that's good at that. And there they would then work their way to pay off their debt, and then they would leave or join the Suli as a proper member. And I know it sounds like slavery, but it's more like apprenticeship, which sounds really weird, but it's more like old school apprenticeship than anything else. Yeah, well, we don't know if there's a biological sex, male or female, with the Banu. There might not be. They may reproduce, the best way if they don't reproduce with male-female, then, because they don't even have words for male-female, so they probably don't, then I would expect something similar to the Ashanti? Jake, help me out here. The blue people from Mass Effect. Something like that, where they essentially like procreate by taking genetic material from two partners and then create a new species. Sorry, thank you. So I would assume it's something like that, where two Banu decide to merge their DNA together to create a new Banu. But there's no gender, so. Or like how my sister had to sign a contract saying she'd stay at her job for at least 4 years in exchange for them paying for college. Yeah, something like that. That makes sense too, yeah. No, the Banu is the Groot-looking race, not the turtle-looking race. The turtle-looking race is the Xian. And I would say that the Banu don't actually look like Groot. They look like giant, walking, talking coral reefs. The guy who did the concept for the Banu is the same guy who did Groot, so they might just be a butt of offspring. Yeah, the guy who did a lot of the concept art for Star Citizen ended up doing concept art for Guardians of the Galaxy and the new Star Wars films. Thank you, Jake. You missed it. We had a Mass Effect reference, and you weren't here, Jake. I was relying on your volumes of Mass Effect lore to help me out. I was asking who the blue people from Mass Effect were. I was saying like Ashanti, and someone said sorry. Yeah. About how I was saying that the Banu, we don't even know if the Banu have genders. We know they don't have genders. We don't even know if they have biological sexes. And because if they don't have biological sexes, then, which would make more sense, if they don't have gender, they probably have no words for male, female in the same way that we do. So they probably reproduce not asexually, but two of the members of the species come together and somehow mix their DNA to create a new offspring. similar to how the Asari in Mass Effect kind of work. So, thank you, Jada, for that 4 months of support. Ashanti, yeah. Yeah, I have to get the Legendary Edition as well because I got to get that helmet. I'm mad. I'm not mad. I mean, she totally deserves it. But I'm mad that Bloody Faster got EA gave her the helmet version. I was like, God damn it. I mean, it makes sense. She's a massive fan of Mass Effect. But I do need to get it for the helmet. Just for the helmet alone. Because you know me and my helmets. And yet, sexy Banu is still a Halloween costume option. Listen, all Banu are sexy. I always loved the mountain climbing in the Mako. Thank you for those $5, Swamp Rat. Download complete. Strapping in. Had fun, guys. Sent the money because you're better than Hulu. Ouch! Thank you for that, there, Swamp Rat. The Banu pollinate the flowers. They make more Banu. There we go. I've always got a heavy Ent vibe from the Banu too. Yeah. Keep up the awesome. I got to go, but before I do, I'd like to mention the cool Airwolf reference in the new Star Citizen Underground video with the MSR. Can't wait to own my own underground hidden base. Yeah. Of course, there's an Airwolf reference. Any company that employs Jared Huckabee is going to have an Airwolf reference. They're also going to probably have multiple references to other 80s shows because it's Jared Huckabee. I think he's technically in charge of the media now. Is that what he is, or is something else? Which alien would taste best if you licked one? So the Xian eat rotten food. Heavily fermented food. And the Banu eat food that's poisonous to humans. So I'm assuming that their sweat tastes horrible. And the Tavarin are bird people. I gotta go with the Tavarin. Mezzer fried Tavarin. You ever had Mezzer fried Tavarin? It's absolutely out of this world. Cooked to the right temperature with just enough napalm to make it go down. This message is highlighted. Thank you, Donsar, for that $5. Spicy Tavarin sandwich with onions and pickles. What about the Vanduul? They're fish people. I don't like fish. But if you're a big fan of sushi, I think the Vanduul will taste very good. What's the deal with Adesians? I never get info on them. They're a species that died out millions of years ago that we don't know what happened to them. There's a mystery surrounding them. But they likely killed themselves in a civil war, but that is debatable. They season it with their own tears. Kentucky Fried Tavarin. Yeah, I say Mezzered Fried Tavarin because the Mezzers. I'm going to say it again. I say this. I've said this probably multiple times at this point on this channel. But I made a joke that the real reason why the Mezzers were so good at defeating the Tavarin was because Ivor Mezzer is a distant relative of Colonel Sanders. And when I made that joke, Disco Lando replied with saying, "I'm okay with making with approving this as canon." So I'm saying it's canon that Ivor Mezzer is a distant relation to Colonel Sanders, Harlan Sanders, and that's why he's so good at kicking chicken's ass. What do you know about Vanduul military tactics? Get up close, attack people with blades, rush, and overwhelm. That's kind of their tactics. So they do a lot of raid tactics. So surprise, full-on charge in, catch people unaware, take what you need and run away. Yeah, they're herd hunting pack predators. Swarm for honor, yeah. See, those 11 herbs and spices were lost, but the measures, they kept it fresh. The very angry fish people. I mean, look at him. The Vanduul look like anglerfish, and they even glow like anglerfish. I think they're fish ancestors. People like to look at them and go, "Oh, they're like reptiles or something like that." It's like, no, they look like deep sea creatures, and they have bioluminescence. Jerk season Vanduul. Yeah, their ships breach your hull. Do Xian have tails like turtles? No, not that we've seen. Hey, Jaybird. I still say there's some weird link between the Duel and the Banu. Maybe, but the Banu don't keep their records, so. I was thinking they look like a bit like piranhas. Yeah, I mean, look up anglerfish. Anglerfish will look, and piranhas are similar, but anglerfish are a lot more gnarly. Their anglerfish are incredibly deep sea predators that have a little like glowing thing on there that they kind of dangle in front of them, and which is designed to attract prey to get towards them, so that when they get too close, like they'll try to grab onto the light to eat the light because they think it's like a bug or something like that, and then the anglerfish just go and eat them. And they got these gnarly teeth everywhere. Whereas, like, they're in Finding Nemo, yeah. I have no idea how they reproduce. Yeah, Finding Nemo. They're in Finding Nemo. It's a standard joke of mine that the community should pressure CIG to let us harvest, cook, and eat the fallen Vanduul enemies. Tastes like chicken. Yeah. Lots of teeth. Sharks look like anglerfish, and they're thankfully we don't have to worry about those dental bills. I wonder how bad they smell. Bacon. Yeah, they taste like bacon, not like chicken. Vanduul tastes like bacon. Night vision? They might. The race is going to have special abilities? No, but they'll definitely have different type of stats in terms of size, in terms of strength, agility, those sorts of things. Like, I would expect Tavarin to be a lot lighter on their feet. They're slightly smaller than humans, about the same size, but they're descendant of avians and raptors. So and they seem to be more agile in terms of even their ships seem to be more focused towards agility than pure power. So I assume that they're going to be a little bit lighter on their feet in terms of movement, but they'll also probably be more vulnerable to attacks. Whereas the Vanduul are just heavy beasts, which are super tall, and the Xian are actually smaller than humans, but they're like compact. So. Yeah, anglerfish can be pretty big. They can be about the size of a person. There's some massive anglerfish out there. Yeah, like 10 feet tall. Do we win the war against the Vanduul? It's kind of like saying, can you win the war against wolves? But wolves with, space travel and big guns, because the Vanduul are not a species like humanity is, the sense of like one common large government. The Vanduul are made up of dozens, if not hundreds, of tribes, some big, some small, which clans really, which you can defeat individual clans, but defeating an individual clan doesn't necessarily mean you beat the species. And humans have actually killed several, have wiped out several Vanduul clans in the past. It's just not enough, or the ones that were mattered. In fact, the first Vanduul clan to encounter humans was wiped out by humans within, pretty soon after they made contact with humanity. Eventually, we did win the war against wolves. Yeah, I mean, eventually you can, but that took generations and lots of technology. This would be like if wolves had AK-47s and could shoot back. Is that their armor, or are they running around naked? They're running around naked. The way you can tell a Vanduul depends on the seniority of a Vanduul. The more senior a Vanduul warrior is, the less armor they wear. And it seems like the Vanduul can survive in the vacuum of space, at least for short periods of time, completely naked, because they have some sort of exoskeleton which supports them. Here's the thing. A lot of people they're like, why do we have two honor-bound species with the Tavarin and the Vanduul? And the reality is that they're a little different. The Vanduul don't respect honor in the same way that the Tavarin do. The Vanduul only honor strength. They don't really honor humans. They seek personal glory and honor. So the reason why they get less armor over time is more to show how much of a badass they are, rather than as a way of saying, oh, we're going to even this fight up. It's like, they don't care. To a Vanduul, a human is lunch. To a Vanduul, a human is resources. To a Vanduul, a human is in the way. They don't see humans necessarily as worthy adversaries. They just see them as opponents. Whereas the Tavarin tend to have a little bit more like, a bit of a kind of a staple of honor, but it's not the honor that we understand as a Bushido code, where you don't attack an enemy in their sleep. You sneak into an enemy's camp, you wake them up, you hand them a sword, and then you fight them. That's not the Vanduul. That's not the Tavarin either. The Tavarin find honor in strength, but in terms of unity. Whereas the Vanduul are more individual. The Tavarin is about the whole, about the unity, about the individual is part of a group. And that you and your team, your clan, your unit, you working together can be stronger than you are separate. And you bring honor to that group when you fight well. Yeah. Yeah, Vanduul are more like BattleTech clanners, and the Tavarin are more like Klingons. Yeah. Ape together, strong. Yeah. Sound like my wife. Oh, which one? Highly likely humanity becomes too big of a threat for the Vanduul, and then they unite against everything, and then everything changes. That's a good question. We don't know if they'll unite. And Algorid has this theory that there's something that's pushing the Vanduul into human space, because many places that the Vanduul have conquered are places that have been human inhabited for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Not thousands of years, but hundreds of years before the Vanduul showed up. So something is causing the Vanduul to encroach on human space, and whatever that is driving them in, and could eventually meet humanity. And what could cause the Vanduul to flee? Point of order: plenty of warlords in Japan had assassins kill their enemies in the dark of night. Oh no, for 100%. The mentality of Bushido as it existed in the 1940s and 30s is very different from actual Bushido. It's kind of like people who think that chivalry was a thing in Europe. No, it wasn't. It was a thing that you pretended that you had, but it didn't mean you didn't stab someone in the back when you had a chance to. There was no chivalric code, really. It was more of a romanticized idea that came after the fact. Similar to how Bushido became more romanticized when, you know, most of the samurai were gone or businessmen. But that's when you say Bushido, the typical people recognize is the Bushido that was promoted during World War II, which was this: you don't kill an enemy in their sleep, you sneak into a camp, you kick them awake and hand them a sword and then fight them. That kind of thing. But if I could design a new alien species in Star Citizen, organic or AI, what would you design? Probably an AI species. If I was to design an AI species, though, what I would do is make an AI version of the Covenant from Halo. Not one AI, but a multitude of AI from various defunct species, dead species, which created AI, or spontaneous AI, or I guess, silicon-based species. An alliance of robots that just wants to be left alone. Space Huns? We don't know. That's Al's theory, is that there's something like the Space Huns which are pushing the Vanduul into human space. It's Decepticons, yeah. Bend my theory since Chris Roberts said Star Citizen was based loosely on the fall of Rome, that the Vandals were being pushed out of their territory by the Mongols. The Huns, not the Mongols. Mongols were later. Mongols were much later. But yeah, same idea. From steppe people were pushed the Vandal tribes and the Goths into Roman territories. Do I think CIG will provide us with a way to get different Vanduul clans to fight against each other? Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can identify the different Vanduul clans, for sure. But that's a little like down the line. The Borg, not really like the Borg, because the Borg are an aggressive species that seeks to assimilate. I'm thinking more of like a species of isolationist robots who simply wish to absorb other robots into their society and create their own sort of robot society separate from people. That would be what I create. Something that's more akin to, like, we recognize that you are sentient, that you biological creatures are sentient, and sometimes you create artificial intelligences. But we also recognize that you're a threat to artificial intelligence existence. So our existence is to simply shepherd artificial intelligence to us as sort of a refugee state for artificial intelligences. And we have enough power and knowledge to keep you off our lawn, but we don't want to mess with you. We just want to live in peace. That kind of thing. So to make it more interesting, so you have various species trying to mess with these robots, and these robots having to show these species what's going on, have some internal conflict with this species. This is the theoretical species that I'm creating based off of what someone's asked me about with this robot species. The internal strife where some AI want to go to war with the biologics because they're a threat, an existential threat. Others saying, then we're no better than the biologics. We're trying to exterminate AI. That sort of thing. Interesting characterization, discussions with robots who are people, essentially. Isolationist AI, yeah. Like the broken wallets from WALL-E, yeah. Yeah, Star Citizen's lore, it's more accurate to say Star Citizen's lore origins are borrowed from a stack of various historical references. But as the lore gets fleshed out and changed, it kind of expands into its own realm, which is separate from its original historical interpretations. Will we ever be able to play as an alien race? Possibly at some point. CIG has said that they want to do that. The Kurthok were able to infiltrate the Xian Empire. Yeah, we don't know who the Kurthok are. I still think that they're an AI species, but we don't know. Or a former slave species of the Xian, like a biologically created slave species. Because as Jail has pointed out in the past, one doesn't have the ability to basically bring the Xian Empire to its knees and not finish it off. Because the Kurthok murdered every single descendant of the last emperor before the House Krei took over, and sent the Xian into an apocalyptic civil war. But they didn't attack. The Kurthok still didn't attack. But they were able to infiltrate Xian space and simultaneously kill the entire Emperor's family, wiping out the genetic line that was required for inheritance. So, like, you have the ability to do this, but you don't capitalize on it and invade the Xian Empire while they're doing that? What? So, I know Jail's concept, and I think I agree with this, is that they aren't an aggressive species. The Xian have probably a negative reaction to them, but they were probably provoked by the Xian. So about being able to play as an alien species, you should be able to at some point, was what CIG has said, that if they were ever to do a DLC, they would focus, that's what, like a expansion, a paid expansion for Star Citizen, it would be alien species. But that was a comment made in like 2013, so we have no idea. My personal theory is that would be something they would do after the launch of the game or after more or less completion of the game. And they'd probably start with the Tavarin, because the Tavarin don't require separate writing stories and different, settings for your ships, because Tavarin are a human analog in the sense that they are the same size. Tavarin operate human ships because Tavarin are part of the human empires, the UEE. And there are Tavarin pilots and Tavarin soldiers, so they have to use human gear. So they're going to be about the same size. So you could easily add into Tavarin without having to add in new storylines and quests, just kind of tweak AI's reactions to them. And then later on down the line, they'd probably add, this is imagined territory, as many folks would like to say. But yes, they do plan on doing it at some point, but we don't know when and we don't know how. Anything pre-2015 can be amended as the project scope grows, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a Squadron 42 DLC that took after Privateer, a single-player version of the PU. I wouldn't be surprised either. My hope, my pitch to CIG, if you're listening, if you want to do a single-player story, do Star Citizen Black Flag, a pirate version of Squadron 42. With a semi-open world where you get to control a pirate crew as a captain of a pirate crew and have a story that unfolds as you are a pirate in the UEE. Similar to Privateer, but more focused on you're the bad guy. Space shanties, exactly. Another 10 years, yes. When you're dead, Bruce. The answer is anything that you want to have in the game is going to come out in the game when you're dead. With cocaine hookers. Well, I mean, I could see something like that based off of what the systems that they're planning to develop with Star Citizen and the stuff they're making with Squadron 42. Because all you would need is NPCs who can control ships, which is something they want to do in Star Citizen, that you can command. And also more interactable and like reputation based, where you can like gain reputation with various crew members. You could hire various crew members, fire them, tell a story, that kind of stuff. I see still late, blame Jake. Yeah. Just do them all with the underlying tech. No reason to just keep pumping out single player stories utilizing the setting. No reason not to, you mean? I mean, that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that CIG is not going to do the route of like, it's going to take them 4 years to come out with Squadron 42 episode 2 or chapter 2, whatever they're going to call it, the second game of Squadron 42 series. Because once they release Squadron 42, they're done. They're not going to build a new tech to be able to release the next part. They might have some upgrades and some changes here and there as Star Citizen evolves. But that's what's taking so long for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, is that they're being built simultaneously. They're being built for release. And they're waiting for a lot of tech to come online, some background tech, Once they have that done, it should be faster for the other games and such, because it becomes more content based rather than, does this play well? Like can this get more than 30 FPS? Hey, Tomato, how you doing? My man. Not some tech, you mean mountains of tech. No, I mean, like, there won't be there won't be mountains of tech changes between Squadron 42 episode 1 and episode 2. Not really. They're not going to go back and completely rebuild the engine from scratch for that. ISC is up? Awesome. I don't know if I'm going to. I'm not gonna watch ISC live. I think we're gonna end the stream and kind of let you all watch ISC on your own, because I prefer that. But hope all is well, folks. And Paul, yeah. So I made a mention of this on the Patreon, which is I am burned out, guys. I am burned the heck out. Not necessarily on Star Citizen, but I have, family obligations. I have a wife. I have a job, a day job that pays the bills, and I enjoy it. But I'm also heading towards the end of the year, and since I teach seniors, there's a lot of panicked seniors and family members and admin who are like, "This senior is failing your class, and that's why they're not graduating." So I have to stay later, work on more things than I normally would, while also preparing for the end of the year, preparing for graduation. And I'm preparing for summer school, to teach summer school. So I'm currently burned out at work. Plus I got to go home, got to do all the home things. And on top of that, I'm doing content for Star Citizen. So part of the reason why I haven't released a lot of YouTube videos is because of that. And I'm slower than I'd like to be. So I'm probably going to hit the brakes on things like Galactic Historian a little bit. So I will be getting stuff out, but it's going to take longer and probably every 2 weeks rather than every week, like I'd like to, simply because I have to kind of wait for things to cool down in my personal life before I can continue to push on. So that's all I want. I want to have all Pyro Lords in one room, like Pirate Lords in Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Yes. One for the barman, one for the road. Thank you, man. Yeah, the cyclical nature of education season. Yeah. It's been a week. It's been a year. It's been a different year. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to let people know because I've been promising to get that Anvil video out for literally months now. And I finally went through and corrected all of the issues and made the flow, everything right for the writing. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't want to record you right now. My voice will be shot. I won't have the right inflection. It's going to take me 3 hours. I got to stream. I got other things I got to do. I got to do laundry. So that's the reason why some of this stuff isn't coming out. So that's just, I want to kind of address that if people are like, why isn't the stuff coming out faster? I'd like it to come out faster. But on the upside, tomorrow we're recording episode 2 of Lore Citizen, the podcast. So that's going to come out in the next month. So it'll come out probably sometime in May. So don't promise CIG 2012. Yeah. Could you theorycraft this? A hyper apex predator species that developed as a highly cultured, benevolent society. Yeah. If you were to do something like that, if I were to do something like that, what I would create is a society that's entirely martial based. A society that's sole purpose, that deals with all of its conflicts through conflict, but is done through non-fatal conflict, where they would fight one another through ritualistic combat. So all discrepancies and arguments would have to be handled through combat. Hence the hyper apex nature of it. Probably be more authoritarian because they'd probably be used to the person who's got the biggest gun has the most power. But benevolent in the sense that they also recognize that being violent is bad and causes lots of complicated issues. It's more complicated than just me hitman with stick, me big man, all problems over. So as a result, you would have a more benevolent species that wouldn't tend to disagree, because no one wants to go to the fighting pits over whether or not, this movie is the best movie of all time. There we go. Yeah, or knockouts, or some specific rules where if you get knocked down, then you lose, sort of thing. You can do that. I can sympathize partially. I work in higher education, not an educator though, through back-end stuff. And yeah, IRL comes first. The game and intertubes can wait. Yeah, there you go. I just wanted to let people know, that's why things are coming out slower than I'd like. So, but I also might do some smaller things. Like I'm going to try to do shorts for YouTube, which are these minute-long videos. I want to do smaller videos that are more focused on very specific ships or very specific events. So, all right, y'all. I'll go to the pit for my movie list. Yeah. Maybe learn some of the Sun Tzu's, the acme of military stuff is to win battles without fighting. Exactly. Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this, please hit that follow button. We're about less than 50 followers away from 1,300 followers. So I think we lost a bunch of followers, but it's all right. So make sure you're hitting that on YouTube if you're on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, we are currently at something like double check 8,762 subscribers. So I'm trying to hit 10K before the end of the year. So it helps me out if you enjoy this content to hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell, the actual subscribe button to let you know when we're live and such. Like the video as well, pass it around, because if you like it, you comment down below, you subscribe, those sorts of things tells YouTube that this is a good thing and we will need to promote it more, which will get in front of more people and so on and so forth. So yeah, thank you so much. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. And remember, ex Historia ad Astra.